right, let's do a scouting update here. So, second week of July, and we got some V10 to V12 corn around the area. Got some canola being swathed down. We've got potatoes that are, I don't know, just finished like a third fungicide pass. So, and I don't know, how are beets doing right now?
They're looking better. It takes them a long time to get out of the gate. Just it's really tough to get them out of the ground. They are really sensitive to weather and crusting when they're trying to come out of the ground. And we had some mainly the border had a really windy day when they were coming up, and the stand was bad. They ended up just tearing it up. But the beets that are in the field actually came up pretty well. They're they're kind of a weird crop because you put down 50,000 plants, and if you get 40,000 of them up, that's considered a pretty good win, really. But they do well at compensating. So I mean, if there's room in between plants, I mean they'll put on some pretty good size. But anyway, by the time we get them out of the ground, I mean they survive the spring. We have to use about 4 passes of pre-emerge herbicides. So by the time and then a couple shots of Roundup because they are Roundup ready now, which we have to use higher rates now to combat all these things. And then we cultivate, and then we do another pre-emerge. So we finally getting all that done. So now that they're starting to take off. So I mean, it goes from really small and feels like it takes forever to, I mean, they kind of explode and get huge almost overnight, it seems like. But so they got a little beat up, but the couple fields that I watch are starting to look pretty good. So they're taking off. Didn't really have any disease or insect pressure to date. Usually about end of July we start seeing some Cercospora come in, and they do have meters that when conditions favor they trips the meter and they let the growers know and they end up spraying some fungicide. But so far so good.
How do those meters work?
I don't. I guess I've never really asked. He just always tells me, and it's pretty spot on because I'll start seeing some, and I was like, I think there's some Cercospora coming. He's like, so I'll put that in my notes and I'll talk to him, and he'll say, oh yeah, we got a text that the meter tripped. So much. It's something with weather conditions, maybe growing degree days. They know. Yeah, it's probably. I'm sure part of it's some sort of forecasting model, and then with humidity, temperatures, things like that. Maybe we need to have somebody from Western Sugar on.
Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah,
You're more
I've
of an
never really.
expert than what I am with sugar beets, but we actually, AgroLiquid has an intern program, and that their intern for the summer is going to bounce around to different retail locations or AgroLiquid dealers to kind of get some hands-on experience, customer-facing experience. And so the last 3 days, we've actually been fortunate enough to get one of those interns. So Aubrey is from Michigan, and she was actually just in her first beet field. So yeah, a little bit different, but yeah, out here learning about Colorado agriculture and what our corn looks like compared to Michigan corn. But your family doesn't just farm corn. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your family up there on the western side of Michigan, right?
Yeah, right on the west side. I actually grew up on my family's apple orchard. So we grow apples, peaches, strawberries, melons, and sweet corn.
Very good. So what are you guys doing right now in season with on the orchard side?
Well, right now we're kind of past the disease period, so we're not really worried about apple scab or fire blight. Now that it's starting to get dry and hot, we're not worried about fungus issues since Michigan has a very humid climate. We deal a lot with fungal-borne diseases. So right now we're focusing on applying calcium as a foliar onto the fruit since calcium helps develop a better skin set on your fruit and prevents diseases like bitter pit and will help your storability with the fruit once it gets sent to the packers. So that's getting applied every about 10 to 14 days, and we'll do that up until like 2 weeks before harvest.
So do you guys spend a lot more time on the specialty crop side versus the soybeans and corn that you guys raise?
Oh yeah, our apples definitely get our main attention.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Do you? I guess what all other fruit did you say? Apples.
Oh yeah, and then we got
you have, like,
peaches,
peaches?
and then we just planted strawberries this summer, so it'll be another year before we pick those. And then we planted melons, so we'll start picking those towards like the end of July. They're starting to come into size. And then we also just planted cucumbers this summer for the first time too.
Okay, very cool. See, I would like to scout those. I would never even have to eat lunch.
Yeah, I really don't know that much about cucumbers, but I'm excited to start learning about them now that we got them.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like strawberries and apples. I just scout, just
No, that
scout
is the
those and
best
just
part.
eat throughout the day.
Yeah,
Nice snack.
yeah. Probably get sick of them.
That'd be perfect. Well, that's what my 7-year-old does when we look at corn, even though it's not sweet corn. It's, if it's even close to the milk stage, he's eating it.
Probably gives them the runs a little bit, doesn't it? Well, that's yeah. Do the same with sugar beet too. Just when they get bigger, just slice them off and start munching. It's pretty good.
I don't know that I've ever tried that with a sugar
No,
beet.
you haven't?
No,
It's actually not too bad, but
but the outside's bitter though, isn't it?
yeah.
And then
That's-
so you
that's
gotta
just
get
slice it.
yeah.
You got to wait till it's bigger.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
well, she explained to me the other day when we were out scouting, but I thought it was kind of interesting. Do you want to explain the tree process, I guess, from when you first plant until you can harvest?
Oh yeah, so once you plant a sapling, so all of our trees, they're all hand planted, so you don't have like a machine that goes through and plants for them. We have I'm trying to think what it's called, like a transformer or something like that's what you ride on and you just put them in the ground. But once they're in,
Like Optimus
oh,
Prime.
transplanter, that's what it is.
Oh, a
Yeah.
transplanter.
I was like blanking on the name, but yeah. No, it would be cool if it was like Optimus Prime going through there. But yeah, once you plant them, it takes like probably around 6 years for them to like establish maturity. So before that, especially in the first couple of years, you go through and you thin the tree. So you go in and you cut off the buds. So that way it focuses more on vegetative growth rather than fruit production. Because otherwise the apples will like weigh the branches down and they'll start to grow all wonky and look misformed. And then it'll just focus on fruit production and won't focus on the tree growth.
Right. So how many acres of what's your footprint for the apple orchard?
Like the size of our orchard, we grow we have a little under 300 acres at our orchard that we own. And probably like half of that's apples. And then we have the sweet corn, peaches, strawberries, all mixed in there too.
Okay. Do you space them out like in or how far apart are the apple trees then? I'm just
So
trying to
we
envision
do-
this over 300
yeah.
acres. Like
We
that's got to
have
be a lot of trees.
We have a high density operation. Well, except for one of our older blocks that my grandpa originally planted. Those are pretty far apart. But our high density rows, those are 8 feet, and then it's every 2 foot is a tree.
Oh wow. So yeah, that's really close together.
So how long will a tree normally produce until it's I guess at the end of its lifespan? Just forever until you cut it down or the weather takes it out?
Yeah, I feel like most of the time when we rip out trees, it's just because of like there's not a demand for that variety. So we just grafted over one of our blocks of Macintoshes to Galas because Galas sell better in the market. So it's just keeping up with variety demands in the market.
You really have to be forward thinking there because that's you gotta see what people are going to want in the next 6 to 15 years if you're not going to
Yeah.
produce anything. So yeah, it's definitely a different world than where we're just year by year.
Yeah. Completely different. But it's fun learning about other areas. So back to Colorado. What are we kind of seeing in the field this week? I'll let you kind of start, and then I'll chime in. Other than a little bit of stripped up leaves from hail.
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place. We've got some that they're actually going to be, or they might have already. They're going to be tearing them out completely. Corn and beans. There's just a few storms that came in with some major hail that, absolutely demolished the plants. Then call those no doubters. It was bad. Some fields went untouched, and they kind of got through the spring and the wind and everything the weather threw at it, and they started to turn the corner and look pretty good. Some of that earlier planted stuff, where it sat in the ground for 2 weeks or better. And then in places where we never historically get nematodes, it sure looked like we had some nematode damage. Didn't protect it for nematodes, and so it's looking better. A lot of the new growth looks good. Good leaves, good color. There's a little bit of growth stage differences and some height differences, but from where it was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, it's looking a lot better. So we're at that, like you said, around that V10, V11. I like to call it that kind of awkward teenage phase. It's just, it doesn't. You go from the small toddler baby phase where if you like, if I have my wife with me, she says it looks cute, and then it gets about waist shoulder high, and it's kind of. It just kind of looks like tall plants out there, and sometimes it gets uneven and everything, and then when it, I guess you could say, blooms at tassel, then it looks pretty again.
Yeah.
But so we're kind of halfway there.
Has a glow up.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's time for a crop nutrition plan that gets more return from every drop. Starting with Pro Germinator from AgroLiquid, a complete phosphorus fertilizer product that includes nitrogen, potassium, and iron. More than 30 years of research shows that lower application rates of Pro Germinator often outperform other sources of fertilizer. With AgroLiquid's Pro Germinator, you can apply less and expect more. Find out more at agroliquid.com.
I would definitely say that's kind of our Northeast Colorado trend, though, is that surprisingly everything looked good coming out of the ground, even though that some of it sat there for 2 weeks, or maybe even 2 weeks and a couple days. So with that, it was kind of disappointing, I think, in that V3 to V5 stage to just see like all that unevenness show up. And I think I've talked to several guys here just in the last couple weeks, asking about PGRs, especially with that herbicide pass. Like, I think I'm guessing somebody's running an ad, but I got a lot of questions about specifically Mega Grow. Like, oh, hey, if we put this with our dicamba, it's going to help the corn process that or metabolize that herbicide better. And really what Mega Grow is, this is why it's super important for all of us just to look at labels, is it's one of the many brands of PGRs. So it is just cytokinin and indolabutyric acid 3, or IBA3 is what that's commonly called. So it doesn't have to be Mega Grow brand, but adding a PGR can help stimulate that plant to not shut down during, as it's metabolizing the herbicide, specifically dicamba. So it can help. We actually did a bunch of trials with it this year, not just with a cytokinin and IBA3 product, but also with a product from BW Fusion called Relax RX, and that's actually a biostimulant, so it's a little different than a PGR, but it's actually going to affect that plant's ability to keep the stomata open, maximizing photosynthesis, even though it might be in a stressed environment, whether it's from herbicide or maybe it's 100 degrees out. It's going to help keep that plant functioning at a high level. And then there's another sugar and kelp product that's supposed to be a stress mitigation product. So we've got lots of trials, kind of excited about those. So stay tuned. And this fall we'll have lots of good data to share on the stress mitigation products.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize how hard that herbicide is on the plants. And obviously that's why we have, label restrictions, but even, obviously the earlier, and we talked about it on the other ones, but the earlier you can go, the better. I mean, there's a lot less leaf area. They're younger. They can tolerate it. But, when you're doing that 2-pass system and you might not be there till V4, V5, if you get late, V6, it's absorbing all that, everything you got to throw in the tank. And we talked about the safeners too, but it really screws with that plant, and especially that dicamba with that. Even with some of that stuff with the safener in it, I mean that corn was leaning over. I mean, not all of it. I'd hate to see it if we didn't have the safener. That's what scares me about not throwing it in. I mean, I assume it's doing something, but with that auxin, I mean, it's leaning it over, trying to. I mean, that's what it's going to do in the plant. It's going to try to outgrow it to death.
Right.
And
if our weeds have to take in the herbicide, so does our corn. And when our corn takes in that herbicide, I mean, we know there's a lot of stress that can happen there. I mean, you see a lot of times we'll see that, those newest leaves really twist. Sometimes we'll even get wrapped in the whorl tight. So we know that that's changing the way that plant's growing. And, I mean, it definitely is. It's like breaking a bone as a kid or a teenager. Like, luckily, it's a young plant and it can heal good or quickly, but it's still like it's something that's going to stick with that plant the rest of its life. And once you have that stress, you can't really undo the yield impact of that herbicide stress.
No, it's just another stressor through the year. And like I've said before, I always think, well, what's the number one goal of the plant is to produce. Well, every stress that you have, it tells the plant, like, oh man, here's another stress. I got to get to maturity quicker. So if it wants to get to maturity quicker, it's going to give up seeds, quality, and in turn yield, so it can get to that seed production faster, so it can live on its legacy for next year.
Right.
So anytime there's stress, I mean, that's why, in dry land or when conditions aren't good, drought, it's gonna go to seed as fast as it can, and if it has to give up kernels just so some can survive, that's what it's going to do. So everything we do that's detrimental to that weather, I mean, obviously can't control the weather, but herbicides, anything under fertilization, under watering, that's why in turn where your yield comes from is when conditions aren't good. So and I know, and we've talked about it, that Mega Grow, and I heard it on Hefties, and obviously, they're good at saying like, hey, well, you need to try it on your farm, but on our farm, we saw with the Mega Grow, it was like, I can't remember what they said, but it was like 20 bushel or something. So, I mean, with the Mega Grow, and maybe they sell it, but
they do.
Yeah, and I mean, they're good about saying, well,
marketers.
And they always say, well, this is what we got on our farm. Try it on your own. Right. So, I mean, there's something there. I mean, with that mitigation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, that's why we continue to do those trials in that, biostimulant / PGR space. I don't think the consistency is there, at least in Northeast Colorado from what we've seen. But every now and then, though, it seems to provide a lot of benefit. So really want to understand kind of when and where and why it works, so that we can save a few more bushels. Are there any other products that you think, kind of up to this point, in corn that have stuck out to you this year?
So outside of everything that got hailed, there was a customer that has north of Eckley here that has some really bad hills. It's really sand. You get down in the bottom, there's really good soil, but you get up on the hill, I guess you could say it's maybe a little gravelly, but it's really tough. And every year they have kind of uneven corn, especially out the gate, and it gets wind blown. And he uses quite a bit of nitrogen, probably too much, but he tried to use stabilizers more. He thought that worked, but then last year it didn't really work. So, pitched, and we've talked about Pivot Bio quite a bit. So I was like, well, that's a great spot for it. And historically, we do have some nematode issues when conditions aren't very good in the spring. So what we did is we treated his seed with Pivot Bio, the seedling product, with Chitonox and Companion Max. So we basically have our seedling product. We have the Pivot Bio to supply nitrogen directly to the plant, the Chitonox, which is a nematicide, and Companion, which is a fungicide. And I'm not trying to be biased, but that's definitely the best his hills have looked. I've scouted that field probably 6 years now, and even when the conditions were bad this spring, I mean, maybe not terrible, but definitely not ideal. There was some how we know this is we also have another customer with a field just directly to the south, and he definitely had some nematode damage. I mean, these fields are right next to each other. They've both been corn on corn, similar conditions, and he had nematodes really bad. And just right across to this other field, I mean, you could see a little bit maybe, but definitely survived the nematodes way better than the field to the south. So that's an easy one to see, like, okay, because the customer to the south didn't have any of that. And so, I mean, it's a pretty good ROI from what we can guess is going to happen in the fall. But because that neighbor to the south, that really set his corn back. A lot of pockets too. I mean, it's looking better now, but I bet I haven't looked at it. That the one to the south, but I'm sure it's probably uneven in spots, and it struggled to come back, and there wasn't much he could do at that point. But those really stuck out to me. You know, I mean, that takes that average yield. You know, that boosts it a lot for, you know, I mean, if we can add just putting those biologicals and, you know, a little bit of micros right there on the root. I mean, that just protected that plant. I mean, that's gonna pay off easy.
Yeah, I love the idea of it being a relay, you know, and that your whole fertility program, it's not that, you know, any one period is really more important than the other. It's that they all kind of have to help that plant along, and there's really nothing full season. You know, or, you know, none of these products are going to help it for the full year. So the seed treatment, you know, really is meant there to get that seed to the best start it can. And then those roots, V2, V3, V4, they start to grow and they start to function and actually take in water and nutrients, right? So then it's tapping into your in-furrow or your 2x2. So that's that seed treatment's really that first leg in that relay. And then when you get to that in-furrow and 2x2, and then if you have strip till, you're kind of that third leg. And then a lot of guys out here, you know, it's wide drop and some fertigation too. So, and then that's your fourth leg. So, not that any one more, or, you know, one timing is necessarily more important than the other, but they're all four important in the grand scheme of things. So I think that's a pretty good analogy for it. And I'm really excited about the Chitonox. We probably need to do an episode just on what Chitonox is. So there's a couple different forms out there. One of them is a synthetic form. That's actually what we use in our planter box treatment, really because there's a lot more consistency and actually higher levels of the actual bacteria that's in there for that product. That's going out and killing the nematicide or killing the nematodes. But Chitonox is actually just a naturally forming compound, and it's a lot of times, there's a few other companies that have Chitonox in their products, and one of them's Tidal Grow, so we're trialing a couple of their products too, but they actually have Chitonox derived from, it's actually a byproduct of crustaceans, so like lobsters and I don't even know what else it would come from, probably like crayfish or yeah, I mean, but it's a byproduct. So, you know, when they kill those, when they kill a lobster, you know, they end up with, it's just in the shell, like the throwaway part. There's Chitonox. So there's actually been a lot of benefits from, from applying that form of Chitonox to the plants as well, as far as both a stress mitigator, you know, kind of similar to like that seaweed, kelp, extract products that we've seen in the past too. Putting very resilient cells into our plant to hopefully make our plant more resilient. So, a couple different forms of Chitonox, but yeah, excited for what we saw out of the seed treatment for sure.
Yeah, and it played well with everything, and it's a dry. And if you think about it from like a physical root standpoint, if you don't have in furrow, but we're not really putting any sort of like super heavy doses of fertilizer in furrow, or any nitrogen for that matter, because the old tried and true method of when you see nematodes is just start pumping nitrogen on, but you have plenty in your starter, but what happens is those roots start to come out and those nematodes attack them that you can't even hit your 2x2 band, and you're already having damage. So why not use something that's really cost effective to suppress those nematodes to get you to that band and get your roots growing? Because
it's like 1/3 of the cost of an Averland.
Yeah,
or that type of nematicide. It's a lot cheaper.
Well, and that's the problem we ran into with the Averland. There was a few years ago we had such a bad issue with nematodes that I know the salesmen were happy the next year because they sold a bunch of Averland because it really bit the guys hard that didn't have any protection. But anyway, so it's supposed to be in furrow, which that's where it needs to be. I believe it's labeled, and so supposedly it's like, oh, it's okay throwing it in 2x2. Well, I think it does work in furrow. Here's another problem we had is guys that were running like Pivot Bio in furrow. They don't mix
biological.
Yeah, so it's like so if you're going to use Averland, you can't use anything else. I mean, you can use fertilizer,
right?
But that's about it. So you're kind of you got to pick one or the other there. But some guys weren't even set up for in furrow, so that's out of the picture. So those guys were just trying to throw it in their 2x2. Well, that kind of
placement matters.
Yeah, I mean, you think like, oh, it's only 2 over 2 down. It's like it's pretty close to the seed. Well, by the time those roots actually get to where the Averland band is, there's already damage occurring. So, I mean, what's the point? You might as well. Why not use a program like this where it's on the seed instead of paying $4 or $5 an acre more for it to not really work either. So it just, I mean, if you just break it down to simple terms, why would you put in your 2x2 if it's like the roots are already going to get hit before it can even find that band? So I mean, if you just think about it in simple terms, like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's why it's labeled in furrow. So
right. Well, Aubrey, have you learned anything from us about corn?
Yeah, I sure have. The grasshoppers are unreal.
They're not even bad yet.
I've never seen that many or that big.
Yeah, we are starting to see a lot of grasshoppers, mainly still in the grass, in the corners and the borders of the field, but starting to move in kind of into the turn rows. We found out, I guess yesterday, I think you made a comment, Aubrey, that ours are a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Here versus
they
Michigan.
For sure are. No, but also seeing just like the high pH and how that discolors the corn. That's also something I learned out here too.
Oh, that's actually a perfect segue as far as products that have shined so far early on in the year is one of the ones I was going to bring up that we've really liked in those high pH, high calcium spots is a combination of Smart Quattro Plus from Brandt and Smart Iron from Brandt. Typically run that to like 20 ounces per acre of the Quattro Plus and then 12 ounces of the Smart Iron. And that has really greened up those where we've got a lot of iron chlorosis in those high pH spots. So that's kind of our go-to pH spot mix. I actually had quite a few more guys do that this year just with the success we've had in the trials in the past. So yeah, it was pretty cool to see some of those visual differences and got a couple pictures that we'll have to post up here on the video.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of those don't know if you could call it like a redheaded stepchild. There's just those areas in the field that are just a problem
Yeah.
all the time, and that they're usually not. A lot of guys will just kind of leave them be. I mean, if it's a total of 10 acres in a 160-acre field or 20 acres or whatever, they just kind of let them go, and which they shouldn't, because I mean you could take 50 bushel to 200 bushel pretty quick.
Exactly. And I think, that foliar mix that I just talked about, it's like $5 an acre. So it's not a big investment. But it's like, where is that dollar best spent? Like, is it easier to raise your good spots from 260 to 280? Or is it easier to take that 75 bushel corn in that one little, pocket right there up to 100 and get a 25 bushel advantage? Or I think you see what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
it's way easier to impact the bad corn.
Yes, it is, because
and that's what we've seen. Like, and it's hard to even do yield comparisons on it, especially when we're spot spraying those pH spots. But when you go back and compare like years where we haven't done it in that spot versus years that we have, and it's over 20 bushel.
yeah, I bet it's probably more than that too.
Yeah.
And I think some guys see that and try to do it, and other guys just don't care about messing with it.
Yeah,
we did do.
It's kind of a pain. You got to have a sprayer ready.
Yeah,
if you're still working on herbicide, or I know a lot of guys now are putting like easy drops on their sprayers too, and wide dropping with a sprayer. So it's like, there's only so many acres you can cover too. So it definitely depends on the operation.
Yeah, and if you don't have your own sprayer, especially this time of year, it's not like the co-ops or whoever's spraying really wants to pull off of what they're doing to spray 30 acres for you of a foliar mix. That's just kind of the nature of the business. Speaking of the pH, we did do some, tried to dry spread some soy green and elemental sulfur in a couple spots, and it's one of those like, well, is it the year? Like, it's definitely not. You can still see the pH spots, and some of those are very severe. They're probably like 9 or 10 in pH. So that's hard to bring them down. They look better than they have in the past, but was that the product? Was it the year? Because we didn't really do a test. We just kind of know the spots and went over to them. And
yeah, the hardest thing about those spots, and we've seen this even with the Quattro and iron mix, like, it works, but only for, it definitely helps that plant, but only for, a few weeks.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the concentration of the soil, it just ends up overrunning, whatever application we've made. So it really is like putting calcium on apples. Like, you got to do it every 10 days almost within these pH spots to really get it to, work season long. It's not just a one application. And we've seen that with soy green or the EDDHA iron, which is the same chelation as soy green that AgroLiquid has too. And it's like, yeah, it looked good for a little bit, and then eventually that soil just takes over. And those very high 8.5 to 9 pH spots.
Yeah, it's like a Band-Aid on a broken arm.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We did see some other bugs in the field yesterday. Do you remember what those were?
Oh yeah, we saw some mites out in there.
Yeah, spider mites.
Yeah, it's kind of random. We're a little early, and I was kind of surprised. We were dry early, and maybe that's why. But really, in June, we did actually, get some rains, and there were some cooler days. And it's probably, really only 10% of fields that I looked at. But they just kind of came out of nowhere, and all of them were corn on corn. And then they weren't there the week before, and they're like 3 leaves up and actually kind of doing some damage. We might have to pull the trigger on them earlier than we'd like to wait till the tab where we get all the leaves out and everything. But I don't know if we can wait. It just depends on how the next couple weeks go. But it was just kind of weird. It just then the field right next to it didn't really have any. So yeah, it's kind of weird. There's a few fields and they're kind of bad. So
Yeah, I know. I mean, they always seem to kind of be in those pockets. That it's kind of random. I don't know if it's geographical or
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't every plant. It was kind of spots in the field. I mean, you're only looking at, say, you look at 4 different spots, and maybe they're in 3 of them. And so, I mean, you don't know the severity of the whole field, but they're definitely there on some of them. And usually you'll see that if it's planted in the straw or, any type of other grass crop, really. But usually when it's corn on corn, it's not too bad. I mean, they'll show up, but usually later. What gets me is, it has been raining and it has been humid, and it has been cooler up until the last week or 2. Mm-hmm. So, but they're coming, so make sure you guys are scouting.
yeah, and it is how you mentioned, like checking 4 or 5 spots, and that's the hardest part about the corn getting tall now. It's like you can't drive the 4-wheeler through the field, so you try your best to walk in a couple towers, and several different spots. But you look at, in all reality, you're only looking at what, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 plants out of millions in the in the field. So I mean, it's a pretty small sample size when you think about scouting. So when it comes to treating mites, or here in a few more weeks, we're going to be really looking for western bean cutworm. Usually I kind of err on the side of caution as far as an agronomist recommendation. It's like, if I see one, there's probably more out there that I missed. So I'm probably going to recommend treatment. Definitely take into account what's that economic threshold, because it changes every year with the price of corn or the price of the insecticide, depending on what's available. So definitely consider that, or think about the economic threshold. But I'd rather treat early and maybe spend that money a little bit quicker than what we could have, because at least I'm stopping the damage before it happens, instead of waiting for spider mites to really take over those bottom 3-4 leaves, and then deciding after the fact that, hey, we need to spray them now. So it's one of those tricky things. Next Gen Fertilizers is introducing Seedlink, the game-changing planter box product that's revolutionizing corn planter box products. Seedlink delivers uniform emergence like never before, so every seed gets the perfect start. It's packed with phosphorus, humic and fulvic acids, amino acids, and beneficial biology. And the best part, Seedlink is half the cost of most of the other competitive products, even with more in it. We're not just applying biology here, we're actually applying biology with a food source. Use Seedlink on your corn today and get better emergence, better results, and all for a better price.
Yeah, that's what Aubrey asked me yesterday or the day before. She's like, what is the threshold on them? I'm like, well, according to any research, university stuff, it's, with other pests and weeds, it's, we go off percent or, counts. With the mites, it's such a subjective call. It's just kind of like, well, if they, you need to protect the ear leaf. I mean, that's a big one. So it's like, well, obviously you need to do that, but you have to, I mean, it comes with experience, but I mean, you can kind of tell, where they're at, how many are on the leaf, how active they are. You can see the leaves starting to yellow, and there's a field that I, need to check again here later in the week. Just, don't feel comfortable letting that go a week without making a decision, because things can change that fast. But also, so if you use a true miticide, a lot of them, they inhibit the reproductive phases. So they have to ingest, and then it screws with the next. So you have to be forward thinking there, because that's going to take, that could take up to 14 days before you see it. And
that's because the spider mite's life cycle is actually, you're not actually killing adults. They're going to stay active the whole time. But what you're doing is making it so they don't have any kids.
Right. Yeah, basically, yeah. So they're going to still be active, those ones that actually ingest the spray. So, I mean, that's 2 weeks. I mean, if you got to look at the forecast, is it going to be 100 degrees for 5 days? Because that'll get them revved up. It depends on how far, if they're going to chemigate or if they have a plane coming through. That could potentially be 3 or 4 days by the time they get there. So, I mean, you're looking at 14 to 21 days by the time they actually get controlled. So, I mean, there's just a lot that goes into it with being the subjective call. I mean, you don't want to be a week late because they can do a lot of damage fast. So but then also, this is kind of a stressful time of year for a scout as well. And I haven't really seen any yet, but especially if we start adding rootworm beetles will come up, and we need to try to smoke them before they lay any eggs for next year. For one, for two, I mean they'll start clipping those silks. I mean if we get really bad pressure, I mean they actually do some damage to the leaves, but where the silks we'll worry about. But then we want to wait until we tassel, because if we want to treat for western bean, but we don't know what the pressure is going to be there, but we'd like to just hit it with one shot. So, I mean, that's where the crop consultant or the agronomist really pays for himself. There is making those decisions of, can we wait? Can we not wait? Can we throw everything in the tank with one pass? Can we wait till tassel? Is it too bad? We got to hit it twice. And those are some big money decisions. Those are, I mean with crop damage and chemical and timing, it's kind of a stressful 2 weeks.
Yeah, it is. Well, and you also don't want to just go out there with an insecticide too early and kill a lot of beneficials too, because sometimes that waiting and then deciding not to treat is the right decision too. So it is very tough with insects, I feel like. And then, or like you said, making two instead of two passes, just do one and get both western bean and rootworm all at one. So.
Yeah. To protect the beneficials, usually we use Stewart so if we're going after western bean, which they're easy to kill. Like to use residual products just because when you do like a bifenthrin, I mean that's a one-time deal. That has to be really good timing. The worms have to be hatched, or the eggs turn purple, so you need to time it around there right before they hatch.
I mean, I'd say 1 to 2 day.
Yeah.
Period. Like it has to be perfect timing.
Yeah, and something like bifenthrin, it's going to kill the beneficials too.
Right.
So
it's cheap. It's just pyrethroid. But yeah, it is going to kill every insect out there.
Yeah. And when you do that, we've seen it before. Like almost instantly, within a week, the mites will just flare up like 2 leaves, and they're super active. So I mean those you can't see all of the beneficials, but they're definitely working in your favor. They're keeping things at bay. I mean, they might not. Some years, like last year, I think they worked better, and who knows with this year. But they might not kill them all, but they're definitely keeping them at bay for you, from what they could do. So it's good to use like a Stewart. The reason we'd use Stewart is because of rootworm beetles, and I've heard people say it doesn't work. Every time I've used it, it works pretty well. So we can kind of get 2 birds, 1 stone there. So so and we get the residual with the western bean, so we can go out anytime. I mean, it gives us a really flexible window.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. Spend the money instead of trying to play this. Use a cheaper product, but hopefully it works. Kind of deal. A lot of people do that, but it's good. It's good to just use the right product at the right time, and you'll be fine. Yeah, with the mites, someone was telling me, basically like east of Imperial, Nebraska, they can still use like dimethoate or bifenthrin will kill the mites. You get over here, it definitely does not. So we have to use miticides. A lot of people, over the last couple of years, there's been a reformulation of Zeal, and that's worked well. So that's what a lot of people use. We have been using Oberon, but that's like, I want to say that's got up to like $25, $30 an acre. It's one of those we were able to get by easy with like 3 ounces. And now you have to use 6. And I'll tell you a month down the road if you made the right call or not. Because I mean, a lot of times they'll show up, but they'll just kind of hang out and they don't really do anything. But you always have that in the back of your head, like, well, they could explode, and then we're way behind, and now we're only at V8, and 4 of the leaves are toasted.
Right.
So,
yeah,
it's such a year by year thing too. I mean, it's different every year. You got anything else, Aubrey?
I don't.
What's your feel of next gen?
No, I've had a fun 3 days out here. It's been going good.
Sweet.
Yeah, I've
Well,
learned
she
a
didn't
lot.
quit and leave, so that's
Yeah,
good.
I'm still here.
Well, at least you can say that you've scouted corn in northeast Colorado.
Yeah, like always, you can find us on YouTube. All our episodes are on our website as well, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So until next time.